Hello and welcome to Meet Our Makers, an artist interview podcast produced in association with Beats Per Minute. I'm your host, Jeremy J. Facette. On this episode, we get to meet electronic music duo Matmos. Matmos is made up of Drew Daniel and Martin Schmidt, and over the past 20 years or so, they've put out some of the strangest and most beguiling, bewildering electronic music. Often their albums are born out of a certain intriguing concept, such as their latest album, The Consuming Flame, from the fall of 2020, which invited 99 collaborators to all contribute their own individual pieces, all at 99 beats per minute. In this chat, Matmos and I talk about their unique way of composing their albums, their similarly unique way of conducting a live show, and what a live show even looks like for them these days. We also talk about some of their collaborations, such as their high-profile collaboration with Bjork on her album Vespertine that occurred quite early in their career. It was such a pleasure to talk with Drew and Martin. They are hilarious, candid, and have a lot of interesting things to say about music as well as what they do. So thank you for listening, and please enjoy. This is me meeting Matmos.
Hello.
Hi, I don't know who's who.
I have the high, gayer sounding voice.
Okay, and which one is that?
That's Drew.
And I
Okay.
sound very masculine. I'm Martin.
Right. Okay, cool.
I
Well,
sort
now
of
that I
laugh
know.
like Ernie, and I give really long, pretentious answers.
Now we both give pretentious.
Martin's are shorter. That's how you'll know.
Well, yeah, I mean, Martin's emails were, real straight and to the point.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm pretentious, and I'm a professor, and I waste people's time for a living.
I'm an English teacher, so I probably am right there with you.
Okay. Cool. Hi. Sorry we blew it and missed a previous engagement. I hear that happened, and I want to apologize.
No, it's fine. It's okay. It happens. Not a big deal. But how are you guys today? How are you doing?
I'm good. I have been eating, drinking, and sleeping live stream concerts. My friend Jeff Carey, who is a sort of computer noise artist guy, very really accomplished fella, though not famous or anything, should be, was like, Martin, I'm losing my mind that we can't go on tour. I want to see if I can put together like a live streaming tour. And I was like, oh, okay. Do you want to play? And I was like, yeah, okay. We'll play. We'll play those. He came back to me a couple days later and was like, okay, I've booked 19 shows. And I was like, no.
You were expecting like 3.
Yes.
And his point was like, they're hosted by organizations in different time zones. So if you do a Hong Kong stream at a time convenient for people in Hong Kong, you're getting totally different people than a stream hosted in Oakland, and so on. So in fact, it might sound like arrogant, like, why are you doing so many of these? But when you think about the like micro communities that attach to different streaming concerts, there is a sort of DIY scale to it, like 25, 30, 50 weirdos in one scene are going to watch one of these, and they'll be different from the ones on the other one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thinking.
So have you guys been doing those, or have those not started yet?
They have not started yet. We did one, the fella who invented Bandcamp
Oh, wow.
is a sort of friend of ours. And when they're developing a sort of live online concert system that will be part of Bandcamp. And he called us up and said, hey, do you want to do one of the beta test concerts for this? And we said yes, and we've done that, and it was super cool.
Was that the first show you guys have done in a while?
No, we've done a couple of these dumb things. We did the sort of I don't know I don't know who you are or what you do, but so I'll just go ahead and introduce things. Do you know what ESS is in Chicago?
No.
It's called the Experimental Sound Studios, and historically they sort of co-present sound-oriented art events in Chicago.
Okay.
But they don't run a venue and they don't have a space. They're just helper people. But when this pandemic thing started, they became the sort of like national clearinghouse of experimental music online and have really like run with this flag and have done a really great job with it.
And you participated?
We did, but
we played one of those and we were kind of bad. It was our first thing.
We were not terribly impressed with what we put out there that first time. So there was kind of a learning on the job, humbling experience of like, what even is a concert? What is presence? What does it mean to be available to an audience? And also just the sheer material and practical question of, okay, you're a band that makes records in the studio, but now you've got to become a TV producer. And you've got to think about lighting, cameras, who's in the shot, what's in the shot, what is distracting, where's the focus supposed to be. So Martin and I have been arguing back and forth about what we want to include and how we want to present things, and even just the debate about synchronous versus asynchronous content. Like, does it make more sense to be live because that's truly being available? Or is it better to make something ahead of time that you know is worth somebody's time? And then while it's live, you're in the chat talking to people about what you're sharing with them and answering their questions, you know, things that you would never do in a live performance. You don't do a Q&A during the concert. You might do it afterwards if you're in an academic setting. So it's just been really cool and kind of weird and disorienting to like suddenly be forced to become your own TV production studio. And thank God, like Martin knows his way around a camera and video editing software. I don't at all. So I just sort of free improvise and share my latest like Ableton macrame doodles. And yeah, it's just an open question of like, well, what does it mean to be live in this era? And
yeah, well, that kind of makes me, and that kind of makes me wonder though, is there even such a thing as a typical Matmos concert?
I mean,
not really.
In a live, you know, when we go, you know, we tour like a stupid bar band. And that is the context by and large, you know, like occasionally we're lucky and we get to play in art galleries or, you know, unusual spaces. But by and large, we're the cursed question of the touring band is you go into the club, whatever it is, and the wearisome sound person looks at you and goes, "What are you?"
And when you're dragging a literal washing machine in the front door, you know, the question becomes acute. I mean, we're used to touring albums where a tour is about presenting the most recent record in a way that's compelling, whether it's plastic objects or telepathy experiments or washing machines. It's very bottlenecked by that album. In the wake of something like The Consuming Flame, because that's such a socially plural record that's like 99 different people's stuff, what does it even mean to play it live? And because it's a collage and an assemblage, it's also like pretty open season. Like, what does that mean? So for Martin and I, the solution has just been to stick to the idea of 99 BPM as a linking strategy. And so when we've been creating these stream concerts, and we've done now, I guess, 6, like we've done 2, and we come that are coming. And the link throughout all of them is purely that idea, that concept of 99 BPM as a relay race, and everybody throws stuff into the pot and you keep flowing. And the only thing that's constant is a tempo. We've tried to observe that more or less in all of these streaming concerts, simply because it's the only way that feels valid to present this music. And you know,
I don't know if it's the only way, but that's what we've been doing.
That's what we've been doing. Yeah. And it's fun. I mean, it's honestly super fun. Like I was just saying earlier today, like we've probably made a fourth hour of 99 BPM material just for these streaming concerts. That's like a further funky distillation. You know, when you serve something and you got leftovers and then you add a bunch of spices and oil and refry it and a few new ingredients and it keeps getting weirder. That's kind of what's happening to our album.
So you're not really quite like playing the songs from the album. You're kind of like extending off of the album.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, Lord, no. Yeah, I mean, we neither... I mean, have you been enjoying this since literally all you asked us was, what are you doing today? And we've already...
No, this is how it works. It's cool with me.
All right, cool. Good. Yeah, so it's important to note about us that we're not musicians in any traditional sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like neither of us were trained, I had piano lessons in, 5th and 6th grade. But this idea of that the song is the structure that is magic and you repeat that structure, like normal bands playing songs, is just not how we come at it, because not for some pretentious reason, but because we're very bad at that. There are solutions to that problem, which we choose not to indulge in. Namely, we're working with computers. We could just play the files on the computer and, nod our heads enthusiastically as if we were making music, but it comes out so flawlessly. I don't know.
What would be the point?
What would be the point? And so from the beginning, we've just chosen not to do that, but to sort of like include elements from the thing that was on the record that was cobbled together more like a collage or a
Exquisite corpse.
Pictures made out of little stones.
Rebus.
Mosaics.
Mm.
Like we kind of make songs like mosaics. We aren't drawers where we sort of piece together these things.
I like
Right,
that we
you
just
assemble.
played a kind of scattergories where it was like mosaic, rebus, exquisite corpse.
Yeah, basically everything that is like that we can think of.
I mean,
But not a drawing.
like, to give you an
No.
example, we wanted to play at 99 BPM, but Martin thought, oh, we're in the basement and the washing machine is right here. Let's do a version of some of Ultimate Care 2. And I'll drum on the washing machine and I'll play the washing machine. And then you construct new rhythms at 99 BPM. So it's a little bit Ultimate Care 2 and it's a little bit Consuming Flame, but it's also neither of those things.
Right.
It's just starting from the same like conceptual altitude of like what makes something a Plastic Anniversary song. Oh, it's made of plastic. What makes it Ultimate Care 2? Well, it's this object. But the formal expression of it, of like how busy is it, or how tense or how relaxed is it, or is it sad or happy? Like all those kinds of choices, you sort of flow in the moment and go with your intuition and your ear about what you feel like doing. And you're not really forced to like live up to some record that people expect. We're not the Stones playing Time Is on My Side. Right.
So you don't make like set lists, right? Is it improvisational?
Yeah,
we do.
Okay.
Well, when we do those, so I mean, and that's another crazy difference between, like you were saying, a regular Matmos concert. When you play in a different city every night, the easy presumption is that it's completely different set of people watching you every night. So they're in doing the same show every night, where it was really hard to, even if it's true, it's really hard to imagine that when you poop something out over the internet night after night, that it's not going to be the same people watching.
Yeah, it might be your fans who are like, okay, I'll stay up late and I'll watch their other streaming concert. We don't want those people to see like, oh, they're just doing that exact same
it's
piece.
a rerun, you know?
Yeah,
like
that's really disheartening.
So I forget what you asked.
Well, it just makes a lot of
that question.
It makes a lot of work because touring and multiple streamings are just not really that comparable at the end of the day.
Yeah,
they're different models of relation. I mean, I've become a real homebody, and I already was doing that before COVID started, and the pandemic has only like reinforced my sort of weird hermit-like habits of mind. So, you know, as terrible as the pandemic obviously is, and I don't want to put some silver lining on catastrophe, but it does chime beautifully with like a part of me that always wanted to stay home and just make art, you know?
Yeah.
And that didn't really want to schlep a lot of gear, you know? So there is an upside to it, but the downside of it is more on the end of like labor of like, are we really expecting that every musician who's interesting has to be a self-sufficient TV producer in order to get heard now? Like that seems like an absurd, expensive hurdle that's not necessarily relevant to like being a good musician. You know, some people happen to have that in their toolbox.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of have imagined for, I don't know, 15, 20 years now that I was a video artist. That has
long, rich laughter.
That has not been borne out by any gallery ever being interested in any of my video work or whatever.
An Irish Film Festival showed
a couple places where like, you know, showed one 15-minute piece, but this new TV show version of live music has given me the opportunity to at least sit in front of Final Cut Pro more than I would otherwise.
Yeah. So is the way that you would perform now, is it similar to how you've always performed, or has that changed?
Well, in that Drew and I sit at a table with our computers and our gear and so on, it is and you know, work. It's a little like we're playing Battleship, or a little like we're playing chess, but then a little bit like we're making a drawing together, a little bit like playing music.
I mean, it's closer
together.
I feel like the audience gets to see what we're doing with more intimacy in certain ways.
Yeah, the camera is right on the table. So, you know, it's interesting that Bandcamp show that we played, like, I kind of love these people, and I also find them slightly tiresome, where they literally list every piece of gear that we're using.
Right.
And I switch things on my iPad, and they're like, oh, there's
the sampler app.
There's the sampler app. Oh, now he's using, you know, DHS Stretcher.
Oh, that's the TC11.
Yeah, and so on.
Gearhounds.
And it's cool. And I am one of those people a little bit, but it's also like, can't you appreciate my art? You know, like, is it really all about the technology? But you know, I'm into it. Like,
well, it's also kind of like the mystique has been removed a bit,
you know, but the fact is that, you know, even if you own a 1973 Fender Custom, you still don't play like Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
You know, so the tools are tools, and hopefully if they're good tools, they're extremely open-ended, and different people will do very different things with them.
Yeah. Well, because I thinking about your discography, you know, you guys are sort of known for these sort of linking concepts in each album. Sometimes they're instruments, like you said, like the washing machine or plastic, you know, objects, but other times they're just thematic. So I was just wondering, that's why I asked that. I was just wondering if you guys have always sort of just like kind of let the, I don't know what the word is, let the music kind of happen in the moment versus trying to recreate something.
Yeah, a sort of hybrid of the two. It gives us the songs that we made, or the pieces that wound up on the records give us a crutch. You know, like when using the washing machine, when recording, when making the album, we sort of not run through, but like work through all the possible different good sounds and things to, you know, sort of tricks to work with the washing machine that sound interesting.
Like the repertoire of an object.
Yeah. And so making the thing, you know, and sort of the record is a musical, if you will, stringing together of the different cool sounds that you can make with a washing machine. And so that sort of provides us a boiled down list of moves to make. And then there is I get that there is a joy in an audience member who has listened to a record a bunch of times, like hearing like, oh, here's that part that I know. This is all hopeful. Hopefully, like, oh, there's this thing, and it's a little different this time because it's live, but not the same, but it's very much like that. Like in the case of the washing machine, we ended up liking the sequence of actions we did with the washing machine live better than what we had done with the record.
Yeah, touring it kind of opened up new ways of organizing those sounds in a different way that felt more valid, but also just musically maybe more compelling. That sort of happened with some of the narrative of like Supreme Balloon, which when we toured live took on a different order. It's just a different thing. It's just a different social contract with the audience. The question of like how you build and change is different. I mean, one thing I like about these streaming concerts, honestly, is that we create a lot of music that is sort of homeless because it's interstitial. It's sort of lost between albums where it isn't organized by a concept that really restricts what can be done. And so there's tons of stuff that's just Martin and I responding to each other in the moment that probably never winds up on a record because it doesn't belong within these frames where, you know, we're pretty busy like tying one hand behind our back when it's album time. So I think these streaming concerts are useful because in a way it's a more pure expression of just like, well, what do we do when all we can work with is what's ready to hand, you know?
Right.
And that, you know how you know, character is who you are when nobody's watching. Maybe it's a different like character is who you are when you're streaming between albums.
Yeah, it's like who you are when everyone's watching. And not to belabor Ultimate Care 2, but I had the other question I had for that was I remember I think I might have told Martin, I don't, or his or your manager, I forget, but I also work with Anthony Fantano, and I remember him interviewing you and you guys were still in the conception stage of whether to bring the washing machine on stage.
Uh-huh.
So I'm assuming you did.
Oh yeah,
we did.
So when you do something like that, because this could apply to other things, but when you do something like bring the washing machine on stage to play, do you make like live samples that you edit on stage? Like how do you go about executing these things?
It's a mix.
Again, it's a sort of hybrid of the two.
Yeah, I literally have two laptops, and one often has samples I've made in advance that are sequenced, and the other is dedicated to just live sampling Martin and manipulating it. That was especially true for Plastic Anniversary. When we toured that record, we would do pieces where Martin would break a record by Bread and contact mic it and pluck it, and I would sample that, and I would have all the MIDI, like the form of the song Breaking Bread, but no sounds. And I would sort of populate all the samplers live on the fly with sounds I had made in front of the audience, because they can tell like from pitch, if they see Martin thwacking this piece of plastic and it makes a specific pitch, and then that becomes the kick drum, the link is very, very, very clear. So we like to make this live sampling. It's just the problem with a live sampling approach is like not every night are you going to get an awesome sound. Like some nights it's just kind of annoying and you left feeling a little melancholy because it doesn't have the satisfying punch that something that's sort of quote unquote perfect might have.
Yeah.
You know, but I think you need that openness. We would do the same with the Crying Pill, where Martin would play the Crying Pill and I would sample it, I think in a pretty didactic way to like show the audience look, we're sampling right now and you're with us here. You know,
Right.
even to the point of getting like audience, because the audiences would yell and scream when we'd break the record. So it was fun to have their laughter or their response like folded directly into the music.
Right. Yeah, it is kind of that like live wire sort of thing where you're sort of hoping the pieces lock into an interesting way. But yeah, sometimes they're not going to.
Yes.
Yeah, I think our worst case of that was when we tried to play the cow uterus live, and like we had, you know, used one for the studio recordings, and it had been,
They are not all cow uteruses that you buy from the FFA through the mail are the same.
Yeah,
Who would have known?
Who would? I mean, I'm sure the people who teach
farmers how to
young
inseminate
farmers
cows.
how to artificially inseminate cattle probably know, like, they're all different. You know, you get them in the mail.
Obviously.
And sometimes.
So we were on stage trying to do this and inflating a cow uterus with a vacuum cleaner. You know, we'd reverse the flow so it was blowing air, but there was like a rip in the uterus and it just kept leaking air and it wouldn't inflate, so we couldn't squeeze it and make the satisfying noise. So yeah, there's a real downside to live sampling. Like sometimes you're just left holding a uterus and, you know, you just look like an idiot.
Yep.
Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Bjork was doing for a short time with the React table. I remember that happening. I thought it was so cool, and then I feel like I never heard of it again.
Yeah, we were on the same festival bill with her when she was touring that that album. And
what was that? The Medulla tour?
Yeah, we got to run out on stage and like watch Damian Taylor play the React table once. It was fun to see.
It is really cool.
He tried to teach me how to play it literally on stage. And I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? He was like, no, like yelling at me, like during the song.
It's like, you know, you put the triangle here and you twist it and you do that.
Yeah,
I would be lost.
It is basically, it is a simple, but you know, nothing is, I mean, I don't know, maybe hitting drums is that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I respect people that bring their contraption, you know, whether it's Silver Apples or Quintron or whoever, you know, like things that are fragile and powerful, but also kind of, you know, cantankerous. Like, I think that's the issue for a lot of modular synth people too, the time you spend tuning. I'd say for us, like the hurdy-gurdy was a really cruel taskmaster. Like we would tune it and everything would be great. And then they'd turn on the air conditioning and then the hurdy-gurdy would go completely out of tune. And, you know, trying to like play it where you're like smiling at the audience, but you're grinding this tone that's just unbelievably harsh. Yeah, it just, that's part of the magic of live performance, I guess.
Yeah, that's funny. So for those who are maybe hopefully listening who maybe are unaware, describe the Consuming Flame for us, because like I said, your concepts or your albums usually do have some overriding concepts. So then how would you describe the Consuming Flame to someone who has no idea what it is?
Well,
I mean, you mentioned the 99 beats per minute as the sort of connective tissue.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to make. I'm just trying to come up with how to make it into a. So, living in Baltimore, there's a lot of small DIY sort of wretched noise spaces, and occasionally someone asks me to play. And I don't mean Matmos, I mean me myself. And I don't like playing by myself. And I thought, I'll ask my friends Tom and Jason to play with me. And they were like, yeah, I can play that show, but I have no time to rehearse. And I thought, what can I tell them that when we get on stage together, I mean, we're all three of us are, you know, consider ourselves pretty good improvisers in the free improv sense, but I wanted it to come to be more together than that. And I was like, what overriding principles can I give people to prepare before they come on stage that will cause us to look like we had practiced together. Right. And they're both electronic musicians. And I said, okay, so anything you prepare in advance, make it at 99 BPM. So when we play together and just start making sounds, everything is more likely than not to lock together.
Mm-hmm.
And also I said, try to make everything out of digital speech, synthetic speech. Nobody did that except me. And sure enough, when we all came together on stage, it was cool what happened. And I was like, oh, this is a cool idea. This is an idea with legs. Like, what if we asked more people to do that and make some songs with it or something? And then, you know, no matter who makes what, it's sort of like a jigsaw puzzle where all the pieces all definitely fit together already, as long as you don't count pitch.
Or like a Lego brick system where it's all the same width of brick, so everything can stack on top of everything.
Actually, Legos is a great metaphor for it. Like, everybody makes a bunch of music, but they all have these common parts that fit together, namely the tempo. And so I sort of came, you know, I was like, how about this? As that Drew and I take turns being in charge of whose idea is going to be the guiding principle for our next album. And it was my turn. And I said, what do you think about this idea? He was like, perfect, as long as we ask 99 people. And I was like, ooh, it's going to be long. And he was like,
I mean,
no.
it is your longest album, correct?
Yes.
By a mile, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I have a sort of a general philosophy that no one wants to hear anybody for more than about 40 minutes, whether it's live or on a record, you know, 40 minutes tops even. But, you know, people do listen to operas and
Morton Feldman string quartet,
symphonies and, you know, stuff. So, well, whatever.
But in a way, it's not one person, because it's not one person for 40 minutes. It's not like a Jandex spoken word album. It's like
it's 99 people for 3 hours.
99 people. So yeah, it doesn't have that sort of ego problem that I would think, oh, my solo album is 3 hours long, you know.
Is this the first time you guys have actually built an album mostly out of other people's contributions?
I mean, we've had some records that have a ton of
unless you count Bjork.
True.
I mean, like, there were a lot of people on the West, for example, and there were a lot of people on the Civil War, but this is definitely a whole other level. And I think, the sort of amount of transformation is so variable. There's some people whose submissions got heavily reconstructed and manipulated, and some people where they just kind of get paired up with someone else and those two do a duet for a while, and neither Martin nor I are present, you know. It's pretty late in the process of creating the record, I proposed the group forms, you know, sort of subtitle as a way to explain what it is. And that's from this person, Chris Cohen, wrote a book called Never Alone Except for Now, Art, Networks, Populations, which is about digital forms. And Chris Cohen proposes this phrase, group form, for something that emerges socially as a result of lots of people contributing, but nobody is necessarily all that much in charge of it. Like, it doesn't necessarily have an author, or like authorship is like distributed across a lot of people. And I think that kind of distributed agency feeling is what the Consuming Flame has. Like, it doesn't sound like a Martin record or a Drew record. And it also doesn't sound like a Yo La Tengo record or a 1-0-Tricks Point Never record. You know, it's got so many different kinds of voices. And I guess I think of it more like the sort of waterfall or cascade of a Twitter feed, you know, that it's this polyglot thing that just keeps going and different people keep getting, unlike an interview.
Was anyone particularly surprising that they submitted something to this?
You mean
like that said yes? Yes, were you surprised?
Oh, that they said yes.
I don't know. We're pretty
Yeah.
pushy. We're just like, don't ask, don't get, you know?
We didn't, I don't know. We didn't ask anyone. We didn't ask anyone we didn't already kind of know.
Okay.
Well, no, that's not true. I approached DeForest Brown Jr. and I didn't know him at all.
Okay.
I followed him on Twitter.
Okay, maybe I didn't.
Yeah, there's people that I only like. I liked their records and I liked what they were about, and so I just wrote them. So I did a lot more of that sort of street team, like, or like, love letter. And sometimes it's unrequited love. Like, you don't hear back from everybody.
Yeah.
Some people are kind of busy. Some people you got to kind of wrangle. Other folks were like super into it and have done sort of file exchanges like, oh, will you send me something for my record? Like we've sent some things that are for Rabbit, and Rabbit sent us some stuff for our record. So it's been interesting. There's some people like Wobbly and people like us where we've known them for decades and we've made records together many times. And then there's other people where it was quite a tenuous link, like some people that I just know through the internet, like the writer Colin Dickey, I've never met him in person. I didn't even know if he made audio, but I liked what he contributed, Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, like anything with 99 people, it's complicated.
Yeah.
I was certainly, I mean, I've always been surprised, like like every member of Yola Tango, anytime we ever play in New York, there is a member of Yola Tango there. And it surprises me every time. Like
why? Because there's such a wildly like different sound world that they come from.
Yeah,
exactly. And they think we are just
but they're cool.
Hilarious.
They're cool. And like we go see them when they play in Baltimore, like, we're not musically all that overlapping, but there are points of overlap, and there's a sort of ethos, like of a certain like fidelity to your vision kind of thing. It's hard to put my finger on it with, like obviously there's a couple in both bands, but I don't think it's just that because like James, at any rate, without sort of getting into a Yola Tango detour here, there's just a lot of different people whose art we respect. And it's the relation is different in every case. Like I used to listen to Fetus records in high school. I never thought I'd have J.G. Thirlwell on a Matmos record. That's totally amazing. And then there's people from the noise scene like Idem Theftable or Mothcock where, to me, they're just such incredible live performers. And I didn't really have a reason to assume they'd be positive or negative about contributing to Matmos, and maybe the average Matmos fan doesn't really know who Idem Theftable is, but I feel like they should because he's amazing,
So it was this sort of curatorial effort, maybe a little more so than some recent projects of yours.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's also people where like we know them socially and we like them a lot and we like their art, but I didn't feel like forcing them to play to a tempo to lock on would make a lot of sense. Like William Basinski, love that guy, but I don't feel like a loop of a few seconds of William Basinski on top of a million other things is a meaningful like Matmos and William Basinski collaboration. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
not everybody needs to be folded into everything. And being on this list of 99 people doesn't mean like these are the people we love the most in the entire world.
Oh Lord God,
far
there's
from it.
So many people in the subsequent months that I've been like, oh, why didn't we ask blah? Why didn't we ask blah?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do you know who this? I think my biggest regret. Do you know who this guy Richie Devine is?
I feel like I've heard the name, but I don't.
He's sort of ultimate intense programmer, knows gear in a way that pretty much nobody else on earth does.
Yeah,
and like,
he's kind of a rock star of reviewing
audio.
Okay.
Audio, like digital audio products and analog, modular synth things.
But also software. And he makes like hyper intricate, post IDM music.
And we've known him since he was kind of a kid. And I think he's a really interesting music. Like he is a new kind of celebrity, like that just didn't exist before, that there's no sort of analog for.
Yeah, we totally should have asked him, and a lot of other folks too.
And we've known, I don't know if I said it, but we've known him since he was kind of a kid, and he's become this like sort of legend in of a sort. I think he's really cool.
Or like, you know, Zena Parkins, we've known her forever. We've toured with her. She's played on Matmos Records, but she's super busy and on tour a lot. And like,
we didn't even remember to ask. We're just
so it is kind of weird. It's not like this list is like the sort of be all end all of our aesthetic, or like where we could take our vision. I mean, that's part of what's weird is like we can make 5 more Consuming Flames.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine so. I mean, not only did you probably have material you didn't end up using, but you could reassemble it in a different way and it'll sound totally different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I assume, which actually is sort of kind of what you just said you're almost doing in the live setting.
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
The streams are the next mutation.
Right. So it's only been though a year about since Plastic Anniversary. That's a quicker turnaround for you guys than usual. Was it sort of a happy accident that the Consuming Flame happened, or were you always planning it?
It's Martin's on fire.
No, I wanted to, I wanted to make another. It frustrates me how long we take in between, because the fact is that we actually work pretty fast when we work. And we have I mean, this is more personal than is maybe interesting. Like we hem and haw and sort of worry about things for the worth of several albums in between albums, when we could just be fucking cranking out another album.
Right.
I mean,
as far as I'm concerned,
it's very different for me. I look at it differently because I'm an English professor. I teach Shakespeare at Johns Hopkins, and I took 5 years to make The Marriage of True Minds because that was when I was up for tenure. So I was turning my book into a dissertation.
Well, that one made sense.
And, you know, there's just things that if you're going to really be an academic in a field, it demands so much labor that if you're doing music as a hobby in your spare time, but you have high standards and you don't want to waste anybody's time with a record, like I do have a real feeling of like, I don't want to lose the people that have stayed with us for decades. And so I don't want to take for granted the like, yeah, we'll just make another, like as if there's an endless demand. Like, I think when you've been doing something for 25 years, you probably do have a core set of hardcore people that are really curious about whatever you do next, but you really don't want to take that for granted, you know?
Yeah, no,
and,
totally.
I mean, that's why I've been honestly quite moved that I feel like we have had so much support for what we did with Ultimate Care 2 and Plastic Anniversary, and even people being willing to go with us with Consuming Flame, which frankly, I was pretty worried about because it is demanding.
So
we have
what you're saying, Drew, is like, because it was faster, it must be worse. And that's the error that I think we make, is unless we take a long time, it won't be good. But we waste all this time just worrying about things. I don't, you know, you look at like the catalogs of bands from the 70s and you realize like, holy crap, this band made like 5 albums in 2 years.
Yeah, totally.
And that's, I think when people are completely focused, when they're inspired, and when they have a practice that lets them do that, I think it just varies wildly from album to album for us, to be quite honest. Like, to me, the reason that some records go fast, like Ultimate Care 2 went really fast because we were absolutely focused. Most of the questions of like, what objects should we use and what does it take to acquire them, were solved immediately from the beginning. Like,
right.
It's just this washing machine. It's just this goddamn washing machine.
Like, we didn't spend a lot of time wondering what sound we were going to make.
Yeah.
Because
the washing machine sound.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Whereas like, look at a record like, you know, Van Dyke Park's Discover America, where it's like he's got to go to Trinidad and like work with Trinidadian musicians and like then do the strings. And, you know, like some people's vision is incredibly elaborate and it takes the time to get it right. Whereas somebody who's really kind of more minimalist in their orientation, like just naturally it's got to be faster.
Well, you also don't want to burn out. You know, I think of, and not necessarily that they've burned out, but when you were just talking, it made me think of bands like the Fiery Furnaces, who put out like 20 years worth of music in like 6 years, and then we haven't heard from them, you know?
Right.
And I do not begrudge them that because of so much work that they put in. And I know that independently, the two of them have put out solo music, but you don't want to just like grind your gears so fast to keep putting it out and then be done, you know, unless you want to be done, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Martin and I have a couple album projects on the table right now, and just figuring out what counts as like an official one, or like what is like a project but maybe not an album, and you know, that sort of moving target too of deciding like, well, when is it strong enough that it can hold up against other things? I mean, I feel in some ways like Consuming Flame is notionally a Matmos album, but it's kind of in its own lane, you know, like so much of it was made by other people that to me, it feels like there was a sort of, like we had to sort of host and kind of conduct, or I don't know what the metaphor would be.
Well, it's like you're a museum curator almost.
Yeah. It's like a group
or an art gallery curator.
Yeah.
If art gallery curators did to these people's artwork what we did, oh boy, people would be really mad.
But in this metaphor, the artists are giving you their art with full understanding. I hope that's going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I mean, obviously, Drew and I just have different feelings about it. When I look at the sort of core music that like so many people like that I listened to when I was a weed smoking 18-year-old, that means the world to me, for better or worse. What I really loved was not the main albums by people, but their weird side projects. Like I think there's a record by the guitarist from U2 and Holger Jukai, and who the bass player from Can is Holger Jukai.
Oh, okay.
And and David Sylvian, maybe, like just this, like, and it, didn't get a huge release and it didn't get pushed really hard. And then like the albums that are with Cluster and Brian Eno that like labels kind of didn't know what to do with. And like, they're sort of like, those were the things I loved. And that's what sort of is the behind in the back of my mind when I'm like, a hurried, weird thing is not necessarily, is maybe even better than something you take really seriously as your main gig. Or like a David Byrne, The Knee Plays. There's this fucking weird little record he made that was supposed to be the soundtrack for a Robert Wilson opera that never happened. That was for the 1984 LA Olympics that Robert Wilson got so completely out of control with that the Olympics were like, we're not doing this, never mind. And it was the gigantic concept. And one tiny part of it was David Byrne writing these. And then like David Byrne, also big hero of mine, made music for Twyla Tharp dance pieces.
Oh,
the Catherine Wheel.
And those are all like some of my favorite, most treasured recordings. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like trying to recreate this like
occasional music.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And if you don't belabor something for years, like some people do, and you just kind of make it, you kind of avoid the risk of belaboring it, and you kind of just let it come out.
Yeah.
It's not sort of burdensome in that way.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem is like, how do we talk about creativity and timing without becoming hostages to capitalism and the album rollout and the hype cycle, right? I'm not here to be a reliable delivery system of products. I'm here to like share art when I think it's worth somebody's time. And I like not being pretentious and not taking oneself too seriously. But I also don't like the sort of self-indulgence of like, oh, I'm just going to be a running faucet of stuff because I can. You know, that's not appealing to me.
So I want to, before we go, I do want to talk a little bit more about Bjork because mostly because one of the ways I even found out about you guys was through Bjork. When I
Bless her heart.
When I first started getting into her, however many years ago, and one of the videos that I watch routinely is her Vespertine concert, which you guys are in. So how did you even link up with her? You were on the Vespertine album, correct?
Yeah. It's sort of the way it started was through a remix, and before that through a record store. So we put out our first albums ourselves on our own label, Vague Terrain, and it was like vanity label where we were pressing 1,000 copies, and 10 copies of our second album, Quasi Objects, got sent to Rough Trade in London, and Bjork bought one. And she really liked that record, like to the point that she was then playing it for people in London, like Matthew Herbert, who emailed me like, hey, Bjork played me your record, so Bjork did an incredible job of honestly like kind of evangelizing for us before we were collaborating with her, right? When it was just like, she just thought our record was cool. And so she called us up and asked us if we'd be interested in doing a remix. And I think something that was smart about that was that she said, well, why don't you make 2? And then you can do whatever you want, and there's less pressure, I think, because if you make a couple, it's like you get to try out different ideas. So we worked, I worked really, really hard on those remixes.
I was not even there.
Martin was in LA or something. Like, I think I pretty much did it all. So I worked my ass off on those, and she really liked them a lot. Like, she called back and was like, I'm flabbergasted, and so we started to be in touch with her because of that remix, and we hung out some in LA. We went to the Dancer in the Dark premiere with her.
Oh, cool.
And that was weird because she was like, look, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Like, I don't live like this. It's not like movie stars all the time, because we were literally like sitting there at the party with like Catherine Deneuve and Bjork.
Oh, was that like the Cannes premiere?
No, this was in LA.
In LA.
Oh, okay.
At the Directors Guild.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
So
Schwadi da.
like, we were just like hanging out, but it was like pretty weird, it's just another level when things are attached to certain kinds of scales of operation. Anyway, yeah. So she came backstage to see us when we were on tour with Rachel's. We played a Halloween show at the Knitting Factory, and she brought up like, hey, would you like to do some more collaboration? I'm working on a new record. And it was it was an offer that was incredibly exciting. It was quite daunting, honestly, because, Martin and I had our own way of working, and it was a workaround based on our limitations and who we were. And I was frankly pretty scared about it, but Bjork was just a very smart, like, collaborator, and someone that I think she already had Vespertine very much figured out.
It was like 85% finished.
Well, that was one of the things about that album that, was that kind of, when it came back into the conversation a few years ago, and she was like talking about how no one ever gave her credit for that, but she actually did so much of the micro production and the beats. And
that's absolutely true.
Yeah. And I really appreciated that article that she spoke about that for, and that you guys were openly basically, agreeing with her, like, look, that is what happened.
Yeah. We were misquoted and miscredited constantly as producers of the record. We did not produce that record.
Yeah.
And, we contributed to it, but so did a lot of people. And those people, none of them are responsible for the music. Like, Bjork was the one that assembled it all. And, she would have like 10 or 12 elements from other people, but she would edit and chop and decide what to use. And she had already worked out in her mind, like the kind of sound and the melodies. And yeah, it was just very much, that album is very much a distillation of Bjork's mind and the way that her musical mind works. You know, we were honored to be involved, sort of spooked. But yeah, I think it is a little just painfully obvious in hindsight how much sexism frames a woman who sings as if she's just someone who gets carried away by emotions. And then if people see like guys next to a computer on stage, they think, oh, they must be in charge. But like often we were kind of just adding like weird layers of hi-hats and snares.
We barely knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
Well, that was so early in your career too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had just made, I guess we had made Quasi Objects, and we were in the middle of making The West, and things kind of started to develop. And then also, I mean, with Vespertine, like Bjork delayed the rollout for about an extra 6 months and changed the timing of when we were going to tour the record. And that actually was a huge godsend because it gave us a lot more time to work with her on programming new arrangements of her older songs to kind of fit the Vespertine sound world. Yeah. So we sort of weirdly lucked out as far as the way she decided to do it, because we had a lot more time to kind of learn how to be a part of her band. I mean, I have regrets, and I have to say, like, I think I wasn't as good of a listener as I should have been. At times with Bjork, I feel like she was saying something and I wasn't really picking up on it. I have my own regrets about maybe just being like a typical like electronic music boy who just lives inside his own little screen. Like, I think I wasn't as sensitive at times to her as I should have been about suggestions that she had or ideas that she had. And I think in a sort of micro way, it was playing out a kind of gendered dynamic that's really, really typical, and that's just on me. I mean, I was kind of dumb, I mean, but she's
You
just,
know what, Drew?
Yeah.
You do it with me. I don't think it's about sex. I think it's you.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe I'm just a dumb piece of shit sometimes.
Oh, no.
But yeah, like honestly, we're forever grateful to Bjork for advocating for us and for giving us this opportunity and for just kind of showing us all of these possibilities of like how you can make music and what you can do. Like, I definitely hear in Matmos Records a kind of before and after Bjork, where I think we're a lot more ambitious now than we would have been. But I also, like, I don't know how to run the simulations of like, what would my life be like if Bjork hadn't taken an interest in Matmos? Like,
right.
I predict very, very different, so thanks.
Yeah.
Bjork.
Yeah. Well, people forget even still how intelligent of a programmer and like sound constructor she is and curator that she is, because like even with recent albums like Volnicura, who was it, Arca that helped her a lot with that one, and I think some, not One Tricks Point Never, I can't remember, but
yeah, Rabbit's on that one a little bit, I think.
Okay,
I mean, yeah, like I was just gonna say that I think even still people will look at an album like Volnicura and be like, oh, well, the reason it sounds like that is because of Arca. And it's not really totally the case. And it wasn't with Vespertine either. No, she hears in her head forms that are absolutely her. I watched her like write a bass line once and I heard her play it just as a bass line and it sounded so strange and so weird to me. And then I heard it overlaid onto the rest of the vocal melody and the rhythm, and it just absolutely made sense.
Yeah, we both went, oh.
And that's when the penny dropped of like, oh wow, she's really a genius, and like there's really this extra level as a composer there that's entirely her and it's her own thing. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that when you collaborate with Bjork, there's this expectation that your target is necessarily this sort of legible pop gesture, whereas I feel like she can take her aesthetic in a lot of different places, so like if there's a track that's like Bjork and Arca and Rosalia on Arca's album, that doesn't mean that therefore they were gunning for a big pop hit, But I think people bring this yardstick of expectations to bear, and it kind of says more about them than it does about the artists, you know?
Right.
I think that's like, there's just a lot of baggage about scale that it's not her problem, but it's like the way people talk about certain kinds of art it's more about some sort of celebrity quest for relevance than like just like the formal things or the emotional things, which are the true targets of like why you make art or why you care about art.
Which of course is, at the end of the day, capital, it's
That's
like
capitalism.
Do you make money at it? Yes, no. If yes, then legitimate art.
Right.
If no, then your art clearly doesn't matter very much. Like it's like talking to your uncle, the plastic salesman at Christmas. You're like, so are you making money on it?
Yeah, no, I've been in those scenarios.
Yeah.
Are you winning, son?
And
well,
yeah,
it's kind of like when I started going to college and I was a film major, and everyone was like, well, what are you gonna do with that?
Right. Yeah, as if that's the only question worth answering.
Right. And then so Bjork also, I guess, returned the favor and was on The Rose Has Teeth for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was like, I had been harvesting her voice as a source for Vespertine and had her say a bunch of sentences. And one of the sentences I had her say was that Wittgenstein quote, because I've been obsessed with it for years. So that was honestly I happen to have this, let's use it.
Yeah, we kind of know. I mean, we always intended to like do something else with her, and it just kind of never, the stuff that, like, we just never stop doodling and recording and going like, oh, what if we, and like,
just build up a big archive of
sounds. And we
just
just had a bunch of, like, I still have all these recordings of her that I have no idea why we made them, of her saying all these weird words.
Yeah, whistles, thistles.
Yeah, whistles, thistles. And just occasionally I listen to it, because it's this beautiful sound file, and I'm like, well, what am I gonna do with that?
You should just send them to her and no context and see what she says.
It. I mean, we have cassettes of us with like Terry Riley playing piano, and we're sampling him, and they're just like fragments of a life of collaborating with different people. But I am sensitive that I'm not going to just slap Bjork's name on some product in order to sell more copies in a disrespectful way.
Yeah.
Like that's not cool, and that's not cool to her. So there's almost like a sort of, there's a certain awareness of like, be mindful of how you use collaborations and how you don't,
Totally. Are you guys like still in touch with her?
I haven't seen her since, I mean, obviously I'm, given the whole like COVID situation,
sure,
it's like, everything's sort of modulated. I saw her in New York the last time, a social event, I mean, I don't want to say too much.
No,
but there's like chit chat that happens.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, holding out hope selfishly that maybe someday you two will join forces again.
Who knows?
That would be fun.
It would be fun. Yeah.
It would be fun. It would be very fun for us too. I think Vespertine is a masterpiece, and I'm glad that you guys had a hand in it.
Yeah. It was our pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Certainly.
All right. Well, on a serious note, actually, thank you for joining me today. It was a real pleasure getting to talk to you guys. I'm so glad you agreed to talk to me today.
Well, thanks for having us. Sorry we missed that last chance, but
it's fine.
Like we got to build up more of a head of steam here.
Oh yeah, no, I came in with double the anticipation.
Cool. Well, if you have second thoughts or other questions, let us know. We can answer them.
Okay. I'm sure I'm going to listen back to this and scrap the whole thing. So
the spirit of the staircase.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Cheers.
I hope you have a good rest of your afternoon. And,
okay.
You too.
Party on.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Bye.
Bye.